Hi everyone, welcome to the Uvaro Demo Day. This is going to be a lot of fun. We have a fantastic panel of contestants, a fantastic panel of judges. We're going to dig right in. First, I'm going to show you the pictures of who's joining us. Then we're going to invite you right into the Zoom room and dig into some of the rules. This is going to be a good time. So first off, we have a fantastic panel of judges. We could not do this with the judges who are volunteering their time to give feedback, evaluate, analyze how effective these sellers are. They'll be introducing themselves in a moment, but you can see them here. And today they're going to be judging the sales techniques of 4 different contestants selling 4 different products. And personally, I'm really excited because these are 4 products I've never seen pitched. So I know I'm going to learn something new, and I'm sure you will as well. But here are our 4 contestants. And again, you'll be hearing from them shortly. Everyone always asks, the 4 contestants we see here, is this the order they'll be presenting in? And no, it isn't. We have not told them who's up first, but we will shortly. This is going to be a real blast. So for those of you who are in the Zoom room with us, especially, here's some house rules to keep in mind. I'm not going to read everything that's on the screen because you can read and follow along, but a couple things I will remind you. Please keep yourself muted. That makes it easier for our contestants to put their best foot forward. Be sure to engage because the chat is not only a great place to provide feedback and to build up, but it also lets the audience on YouTube know what you think about how things are going. And of course, if you can keep your video on the whole time, that really helps. Avoids the boxes from bouncing around in front of the contestants, and it helps everyone see what the reactions are to the sales pitches as we go. For our contestants, this is where it gets more fun. Let's dig into the rules of engagement. First off, when you come up, make sure you start off by telling us what you're selling and who you're selling it to. We have our head of customer excellence acting as the buyer here, but our audience doesn't know who you're selling to. So make sure you let them know who that persona is, who the company is, and the problem you're solving. As well, remember, you only have 15 minutes. We will cut you off. It is a hard stop. For those that are on the YouTube stream, watch out for that 15 minutes because the gong is loud. You'll know when they're cut off. And then, of course, there's a quick break in between contestants when we'll let you know who the winner is, how things are going, and who's up next. We're going to jump in to some introductions in a moment. So let's actually right into the Zoom environment. So as we get going, we'd like to start off by introducing our judges. We have Amar Chahal, Drew Williams, Chris Von Hoon, CVH himself, Adam Stevens. If I could ask each of you to give a quick introduction, and let's start off with Amar. Could you introduce yourself? Let our audience know who you're here with, and to spice it up a little bit, because we've got a bunch of people who have learned new skills over the last 12 weeks. If you could introduce yourself, your company, and tell us one thing you've learned recently. Let's keep it a little bit fun. Amar.
Hey folks, my name is Amar Chahal. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Hypercomply, and for something I've learned over the last 12 weeks, unrelated to sales, but learned how to put a bookshelf together. Built one from scratch. Yeah.
That's awesome. We just moved into a new house and we've got to set up some things. I might be calling you to give me a hand. This should be fun.
Yeah, happy to help.
Nice. Drew, can you help us out? Introduce yourself and give us something you've learned in the last 12 weeks.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Happy to be here once again for the demo day. I'm Drew Williams, founder of Sales Playbook Builder, and I help SaaS founders transition out of founder-led sales. And one thing that I've learned recently, I've been actually spending lots of time with my little 2-year-old. He's been home from daycare this week because of the recent lockdown measures, and we've been doing a lot of biking. He's got like the pedalless bike, and one of his favorite things is to go down and like glide down, but he knows he's learning, and I'm kind of applying this to life too, is that in order to go down, in order to have that fun part, you need to go up. You need to put some work in. You got to take one step after another. There's hard work, but then once you get to the top, you can see down, and then you can glide and have some fun.
That's profound. I like that. That's awesome. I'm sitting at home with my 4-year-old and 9-year-old, and I'm not learning such profound lessons. I've definitely got to sharpen my mind a little bit. Thank you for that, Drew. Okay, we're going to go on to CVH. Before we do, every contestant gets a couple of minutes to prep. So our first competitor up, happy to share Rohit. You'll be on deck first. So you've got a couple of minutes to get yourself ready. CVH, can you introduce yourself? Let us know what you've learned.
Yeah, I don't know how I follow up with Drew's profound lessons because it's like 6 o'clock in the morning here, so my brain's just not like that profound, but let's see what I can pull off. Chris Von Hewen, sales director at Prodigal. So we are a speech analytics solution for the collection industry. Profound lesson. Actually, I think the thing I really learned the past couple weeks is just be very, very honest, like with yourself and your questions. Perfect example is like with a prospect. I had to ask them just straight up, like, hey, who's signing this? If the trial goes forward, are you willing to sign this month? Is there any other concerns I need to go address? Like, just be very, very honest, because this like fear of not asking the question because you might get told no is just going to kind of torpedo everything. And if you do that to your personal life as well, you know, friendships, relationships, things like that, you realize that you're just carrying along a lot of dead weight. So it's kind of just like, get to it. There's really never a good time to have these conversations, but you just need to have them because the more they build up, the more time you waste. So there's my 6 a.m. CVH lesson for you.
Love it. Great tip, especially so early in the morning. Joining us from the West Coast for an early morning sharing. This is wicked. Thank you so much. Last but not least, Adam Stevens. Adam, can you join in and introduce yourself and let us know what you've learned?
Yeah, certainly. So I'm Adam Stevens. I'm the Director of Growth Marketing here at Uvaro. Excited to be joining the team of judges here. And one thing that I've learned, I don't know if I don't know if it's as profound as some of the other folks here have illustrated, but recently I learned we have a pack of coyote that wander around in the backyard every so often. And recently I've learned that the back heel of a coyote's footprint actually does a little bit of an indent out here rather than a dog's, and a dog's is like so. So I was checking that out, wondering if the tracks were actually dogs or coyotes, and that's how you can tell. So there's a little bit of Lorne Green advice for you.
That's awesome. Thank you. Look at this. So we've got some life lessons, some sales skills, and then how to spot dog and coyote tracks. This is fantastic. So a great way to start the morning. We're going to dig right into the competition. Before we flick the switches, put people on stage. First, for our judges, can I get a thumbs up? Are you all set? Do you have your scorecards all good to go? Fantastic. And for our contestants, you've got the house rules, you've got yourself set up, you've got your internet connection, all good to go? Nice. Okay. So, Rohit, you're up first. Quick reminder again, be sure to introduce yourself, your product, who you're selling to. Once you're done the introduction, I'll put 15 minutes on my clock and I'll interrupt if you get to the end. But the floor and the mic is all yours. Good luck. Happy selling.
Thank you, Joseph. I hope everyone's able to hear me. Thank you. So I'm going to be selling to GitHub, and the product that I'm pitching is Lever. Lever is an applicant tracking system, and I'm going to be pitching to the senior HR business partner at GitHub, and he's been tasked with finding a new solution to improve the recruiter's efficiency. I'm just going to be putting the 15 minutes on my clock as well. All right. Hi, Greg. How's it going?
Good morning, Rohit. You know what? So far, so good. I learned a few different things this morning about coyotes on a podcast I was listening to, and yeah, feeling informed and ready for a big day.
Awesome. I'm digging the whole animal vibe kicking off this meeting because last night I was watching Ace Ventura, one of my favorite movies of all times, just to get me in the mood for today, and that was fun. So I think we're gonna have a good day today.
Oh, Ace Ventura happens to be one of my favorites. The
Amazing.
opening scene where he's delivering the FedEx package,
Absolutely.
or the UPS or whichever it is, and yeah, that it's one of my favorite movie moments for sure.
Yeah, everything about Jim Carrey is amazing. His whole energy, right? Yeah,
Totally.
right. So just a quick time check, Greg. We're good on the 15 minutes. Is that a hard stop or?
Yeah, Rohit, appreciate you asking. I've got a meeting I've got to step into in, I guess 14 minutes now. So yeah, appreciate the time, but we're gonna have to keep it tight.
I'm going to keep that really short discussion, Greg, regardless. So, because I'm not going to have too much time to dig into a lot of the finer nuances of the product, I'm just going to keep it very simple. I want to try and understand if we're a good fit. I have a few preliminary questions to help me determine that. And I'm going to throw it back to you if you've got any questions for us. And if there's anything specifically that you'd like to address today, I'd kind of include that if you can let me know.
Sure. I mean, we talked about it a little bit in our initial really quick chat. I mean, we've got to move quickly. We're growing fast, but we have the challenge of just having the candidates come in, and then we can't keep track of everyone. So we may pass or miss on good candidates. So how do we keep them engaged as we're trying to grow the team is an important one, but also just, I think, getting the right quality bubble to the top. Those are things that are important for us.
Awesome. I think we're going to be covering these three topics quite, at least, not too deep, but, definitely will be covering these three topics. But I would like to let you know that in case you feel that, we're not the right fit, do let me know. We'll part as friends, and you'll also tell your friends about us. All right. Thank you so much.
Sounds good. Yeah, sounds good.
Right. So just right off the bat, the biggest question that I wanted to kind of get right off the bat is, what does hiring look like for you in 2021?
Yeah, my goodness, we're just continuing to grow as a business, and I've been tasked with going out and looking at different roles that we need to bring into the organization, and we've got to grow by about 40% org-wide this year, and it's a mix of roles that we're trying to staff for. So it's not a single talent source that we're looking to draw from or a talent pool. We've got to be using our internal networks, which has always worked well for us in the past for hiring, but also look at getting more diversity into our business so that we have, again, just a rich network inside the company as we continue to grow, which I'm candidly stressed out by. That's a big target to hit, and we can't just rely on the way we've done things in the past.
You said that you're stressed out by this mandate. Can you like highlight like what could be the reason?
Yeah, I think we've grown. I mean, we've grown organically at first, and then we've used some other tools to power our recruitment engine before, and they've worked. But to scale at a 40% growth rate, I mean, we've got to look at a different approach. So it's capacity we've got to build in the business to continue to perform. We're just overstretched, and I'm concerned not just about filling that 40% mandate, but losing the people who are overstrained inside the organization at the same time. So I think that's what stresses me out, is that 40% could grow if we start losing good people.
Absolutely. So you said that there was a previous platform that you kind of worked on, and that didn't really go well. Were there multiple instances, and what was the gaps that you experienced?
So I think the big thing for us is the system that we're using today. I mean, it works, so it has helped us to find and identify good candidates. I think the challenges has been it's difficult to use when you have different people meeting with candidates. We have a tough time. We have a really tough time with people going into that platform and getting the information that they need out. It has some challenges in terms of what diversity of talent it points us to. It tends to just be pulling from the same talent pools and sources. And so that, I think that is limiting our ability to meet some of those, again, diversity objectives that we have, and then including people in our team that we need in an effective way, instead of people coming into an interview room cold. We want them to have the right context and background so that it can be a more meaningful conversation with recruits. I think the one other thing I'll add is, I think we've passed on good talent, and
Mhm.
those are people we might want to come back to. And so who are those people? Are we treating them well? Are we treating them well? I don't know. They show up for an interview and then I don't know if we speak to them again or what that conversation looks like afterward.
It's great that you've identified, all of these gaps. I think my next question back to the Ace Ventura team is, say you're meditating, right? And what was that one moment of clarity that could solve all of these problems? What do you think that could be?
So you must be referring to when nature calls, I guess.
Exactly, the second part. Right.
Okay. All right, the Zen Ace Ventura. So sorry, I distracted myself with the Ace Ventura reference. So
Okay,
you
so
repeat the question
just want
for
to
us?
understand what would be that one solution that actually like solves all of this for you, and maybe just a side question: how quickly do you need it? You did mention a timeline, so
Yeah, well, I mean that target is, is on for this year. So we gotta. I mean, I knew that tool yesterday, I'd say. I mean, we have a way of doing things now, but we need that tool immediately to help if it's the right system to help us ramp, because we're just gonna keep hammering at it. I think the number one thing really would be how do we treat the people who apply to come work at GitHub? And when we pass on them or they pass on us, is that a talent pool we might want to go back to? So how do we keep track of and engage those individuals?
I think it's really enlightening that you've actually specified engagement as the biggest problem with the entire experience, right? I think that's twofold. One is the recruiter level engagement, and then you've got the candidate level engagement, right? I think if we kind of resolve both of these problems, we'll have you well on the way for that 40% growth goal, right? I think I have pretty much all of the information that I need. I need to walk you through a few things. I hope that's fine. I'm going to share my screen with you, Greg.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to take a look.
Thank you so much. Are you able to see my screen now?
I do, yeah, I can see it.
It's
Looks
got
great.
our logo there, and it's talking about our proposition. So
Yeah, I got it.
awesome. So we're Lever. We're an end-to-end talent acquisition platform. And the reason why I bring up this solution today is because we want to imagine you, we want you to imagine your recruiter, right? And yeah, so what would be the best possible solution for your recruiter would be to source quicker, interview better, and measure your performance, right? That's the three-pronged approach that we have for solving the problem at your end, which is in alignment with your growth goals, right? And we've got the sourcing capabilities. So essentially, it's a plugin right on your browser, irrespective of where you zero in on a resume or a profile, you'll be able to bring it into our platform, right? And we have a duplicity check in case the profile already exists with us. We'll be able to identify and inform the recruiter so that they go to the original profile, the master profile, rather than the new one. And then the recruiter is able to send out personalized messages, right? At that point itself. Something that you mentioned is the lack of personalization, and as a result, lack of engagement of the candidate with the position that they're applying for or they're being considered for. So this will help us resolve that, sort of to speak. And the other thing is on the interview capabilities. I do have a question, another question for you. Like, what is the average time spent of your recruiter on a daily basis for a particular position?
Geez, that's a very specific question. I'd say for any given role, I'd say about let's just say about 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours. Yeah.
Right. So if we took that 2 hours and kind of dwindled it down to maybe 30 minutes per position, that would save a lot of time for you, I'm presuming.
yeah, that efficiency is something that's critical. Again, we don't want to undermine quality, but efficiency is important too.
Absolutely. So here's how we're going to go about doing that. We're able to make the calendar available to the candidate, and the candidate picks the time slot that's comfortable for them. That way, a slot is booked. Once this slot is booked, the recruiter is then in turn able to share that calendar to the panel, and then we get the buy-in from the panel as well. So we have a buy-in from all three stakeholders, right, for the best possible time. So then there's very limited scope for time being wasted. I don't need to reach out to the candidate time and again just to determine whether they're going to be available at this particular time slot or not. So I think that solves the interview process coordination aspect. The second aspect is the collection of the feedback. So when I send a profile to a hiring manager, I'm able to collect real-time data from the hiring manager and tabulate it against the profile. And this helps me make informed decisions even at a later stage. Say, for example, this candidate is not selected for this particular position, and we want to kind of reuse him or her in for a future position. I have all of this information and insight, and I'm going to be able to use this business intelligence effectively. And this is your own private database, so you can rely on this more often, and you know your recruitment process better, and what criteria is important for you, so you'll be able to make a much more informed decision. And obviously you want to measure effectiveness, so you've got sourcing capabilities built in, you've got the interview scheduling and coordination aspect, and then you've got all of these analytics and stats to help you see and take corrective action as and when required.
And those archived candidates, I mean, are these reports I can drill into and get more information about those people who we've again passed on or have passed on us?
Definitely. We have search engine capabilities as well. So in case you put in, your requirement, you're able to mine within that data source itself. So you'll be able to zero in on the best possible candidates within that. And an additional benefit, which is a recent advancement, is our integration with the star rating system. So you have a better understanding of the candidate's fit.
That's great.
So does that cover everything that we're trying to achieve pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, I think you touched on each one of the pain points that I'm thinking about. So what's next, Rohit? Where do we go from here? This is interesting.
So from what I'm seeing here, I think we're good to set up a second level meeting with our account executive to walk you through and have a detailed understanding. It would not be a walkthrough. You'll probably have a hands-on yourself. So that's going to be a lot more interesting for you to kind of gauge how effective the tool really is. So would Monday 10 sound good for you?
Okay, well, I'm not sure who I would need to coordinate on my side. So if you send me over some times, Rohit, then I could probably just kind of work internally and see who wants to come and get back to you on some times. Would that work?
Absolutely. So I'll send you a few possible slots at our end. And again, it works very similar. It's a link. You can just select the best possible slot for you, and it's going to be keeping us informed that we're going to be meeting at this time, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So is there anything else that you'd like me to answer apart from this?
Do you have a favorite part of the movie before I jump into my meeting here, Rohit?
Yeah, there are a lot of favorite parts. I think one thing that I kind of bring an analogy to recruitment is how he yells out his nature call, and all of these animals turn up. I think that's very similar to recruitment. He needs to be. I mean, that'll be like an ideal scenario.
Very good. Well, thank you.
And Rohit, just at the end. Great job, Rohit. So let's kind of wrap up, bring the audience back in. You can stop sharing your screen now, take a break. This is going to be a lot of fun. We've got our next contestant that'll be up. Harini, you'll be next. So we'll give our judges a couple of minutes to finish out their scorecards, to finish out their comments. Before we hand the mic over to Harini, Rohit, how are you feeling now that you're done? You're out of the hot seat.
I'm stirred and shaken.
Already. In looking back at it, is there anything you would have changed, done differently? Anything that you're reflecting on that you would have tweaked?
I definitely would have included my social proof. That's something that I kind of
There you go.
wish I did. I had a story built around it, but I didn't have the opportunity.
There you go. The alignment on Ace Ventura. We talk about building rapport. That's not one I would have expected. That was a great surprise. That was a delight.
He did mention that in one of the earlier classes. I picked up on that.
There you
Again,
go.
moment of clarity.
Leveraging your research. That's great. So I see our judges hammering away on some notes, some scores. If I can get thumbs up from you when you're done, then we'll know that we can move forward. Harini, how are you doing? Got yourself all set up?
Yeah, I'm good.
Fantastic. So again, as a quick reminder, be sure to introduce yourself, what you're selling, but also who you're selling it to so that our whole audience knows the persona and the role that Greg's filling in for.
Okay, so my name is Harini. I'm going to be doing Olivia by Pardox, and Olivia is Pardox's conversational AI assistant, and she helps recruiters and hiring teams save time by automating administrative tasks like screening, interview scheduling, and answering candidates' data. And my prospect is Greg, the Director of Talent Acquisition at General Health, and he is interested in finding a solution to help save time screening and booking initial interviews for candidates. And this demo is specifically to show them the text to apply capability.
Fantastic. I'm going to put 15 minutes on the timer, and it's all yours.
Okay, cool. Just going to get my stuff set up. Bear with me. You should be able to see my screen. All right. Okay. Greg, how you been?
I'm doing very well, thanks. How are you, Harini?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. How's your day so far?
So far, so good. Watched my favorite movie last night, Ace Ventura, and was able to get some laughs in before I headed to bed this morning, or to bed last night. So feeling good this morning.
Nice. That's good that you're feeling good this morning. My morning didn't start off so well.
Okay.
I had a really sad realization that my dog is not a tough guard dog.
Okay.
Yeah, my mom got a Great Pyrenees thinking that, he would protect the family and he would be really tough and macho. But we went to the park today and we saw squirrels and he got scared and ran away.
Oh,
It was so embarrassing.
ran away from the squirrels.
Yes, and he ran across the park and a couple stopped him and was like, "Is this your dog?" And I was like, "No, don't know this dog." I sped walk back home.
Well,
Anyways.
I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know how refunds or exchanges work on pets, but sounds like this is a candidate for you.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, but he kind of grew on me, so I think I'm gonna keep him.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, but yeah, I appreciate you booking some time in for us to dig in a little bit more.
Yeah, of course. I did want to thank you for letting me steal 15 minutes of your time. I appreciate it. I know you must be really busy. We only have 15 minutes, right?
That's right. Yeah, I've got to step into something in about 12 minutes now, but appreciate us just having a chance to connect here.
Okay, so this is just meant to be conversational. No pressure at all. It's really meant to see if we're good for each other. If we are, I'm more than happy to set a deeper dive combo with my wonderful AE Zendaya. She's more than happy to give you a deeper dive into the product because 15 minutes is just not enough time. But if you decide at the end of this, like, wow, that really sucked, no worries. I will not resent you, I promise.
Okay, well, that's good. Thank you for that.
So just before we move on, I do want to make sure, last time we spoke, you said you were interested in the text to apply capability. Is that wrong?
This is what I'm interested in. We have lots of people who are applying for and interested in roles, and we just end up spending a lot of time screening, and then if people get past that initial phase, a lot of time spent booking meetings, and I think that could be a lot more efficient for us. And from our brief conversation before, I'm just intrigued to see how this might be a fit for us, and see if it can be helpful.
Okay, good to know. So, Greg, may I ask you an uncomfortable question?
Sure. Yeah, you've got my attention.
Okay, so what is it about your current process for screening and booking initial interviews that is making your recruiters and your candidates unhappy at the moment?
Okay. Well, I think I would boil it down to, because I think there's two sides to this. I think the on the recruiter side, there's a lot of time spent with just speaking with people who make their experience appear like it connects to us, but then we very quickly realize in those screens that they're not a good fit, and it's tough to back out of a 30-minute conversation. So we'd love to do that in 2 or 3 minutes, because usually you can find those things out quickly, but just to be respectful of people's time, those are typically at least 15, but more typically 30 minutes. And on the recruit side, when we have good candidates come through, it's they're being I have always been concerned that they're being made to feel like they're just going through a step in the process. They're not. They're those great candidates. We want to fast track them through and not make them feel like they're just one of many. And our recruiters, who do a great job, they have different personal tastes, and we could miss good talent if somebody's in a bad mood or just doesn't connect with individuals.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting that you mentioned you want to fast track your candidates. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is you mentioned you have an email-based process, and this is something that a lot of our partners had previously. And what they found is very specific to healthcare. 60% of candidates are coming in after hours because they work odd hours. And because of this, the recruiters, they don't work 24/7, and because they're using email, there's a delay. So is that the same case for you? Are a lot of your your candidates coming in after hours?
We do. Yeah, we do have a lot of the conversations that need to happen at odd hours. Often the best candidates are employed. They have roles of their own. And so we need to be able to flex and connect with them, especially at that low commitment point of those initial screening calls in times that work well for them, and not force ourselves to be constrained by the regular working hours.
Right. And you mentioned also fast tracking. What we've seen with our partners is they're also very concerned that they're losing their top talent to their competitors because of that delay. Has that ever happened to you?
I think absolutely. Whether it's competitors or just, I think recruiting is, it is competitive. Great candidates often, I think they're going to be turned off by a regular screen. A lot of them are getting referred in, but then we still require them to go through a screening process, and they can be clunky and inefficient to exchange emails and swap times, and meetings come up and people aren't able to attend. So I think I'd say we lose them to competitors, but I think we also just lose people because we don't present or put our best foot forward.
Yeah, that would definitely be frustrating for a candidate, especially someone who's really eager to find a job. And I'm curious to know, I guess, with your current process, how do you foresee yourself reaching your 60% hiring mandate?
Volume. It's a volume game for us right now, and we recognize and acknowledge the inefficiencies in that process, but we're just doing the best that we can. Again, that's why I was intrigued with what we briefly spoke about before. So just wanting to know if there's a way that we can become more efficient, for sure.
Okay, so great information. Thank you for that. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think it's time that we scrap your current process and have you screen and pipeline without lifting a finger. And I'm actually very excited to introduce you to a new layer of technology that I believe can really help you out, Greg. And it's all done through Miss Olivia, your very own personalized virtual assistant. So really imagine a world where you have someone doing all the nitty-gritty administrative tasks, from screening candidates, capturing candidate info, finding those tricky availability for initial interviews, that just makes you want to pull out your hair. Think about what all that free time can mean for your recruiters. This means that they can finally focus on what matters the most, and that's building great relationships with their top talent, while Olivia recruits for candidates with the same care you give your patients. And this is actually why Paradox was really born out of Aaron, our CEO, great guy, very obsessed with people's feelings about work. And that's actually why he went to HR. So this is just a screen full of flashy, sexy brands we work with. Yes, I am bragging. But I do want to direct your attention to some of the work we've done with some amazing healthcare brands. And my personal victories with Houston Methodist, I'm not too sure if you know them.
I've certainly heard of them. I've certainly heard, I don't know them well, but I've certainly heard of them before.
Yeah, so they're great. And their process was very similar to yours, very much email based. And what we saw with them and really with our partners is not only were they able to be 2 times more likely to fill positions within only 2 weeks, but also 3 times more likely to improve candidate experience. And I do want to touch on that because you mentioned a huge chunk of your candidates are coming in after hours. So with Olivia, there's no more wait times. She's down to chat 24/7, and this is especially important since healthcare isn't a 9-to-5 job. So Olivia is totally down to chat with the nursing candidate during a 2 a.m. lunch break if needed.
Yeah, one of the things that I certainly was concerned about. These are impressive logos to see and helpful to know that you have customers that at least look in some way like us. One of the things we pride ourselves on is not just the technical skills, but the emotional intelligence and the ability of people to connect with others. And that's something that we pride ourselves on. Although the process is inefficient, what's worked has been that we can screen for that fit. And that's where I'm intrigued, but I'm a bit concerned about how we can address that aspect of the experiences. Can artificial intelligence detect emotional intelligence for the people we're screening? Just curious about that. That's one of my concerns about this, although this is a helpful summary of who you've worked with before.
Okay, so emotional intelligence. All right, so you know what then? To address that, let me show you, I created a little simulation for you, VIP treatment, to show you how she would potentially screen candidates all through text. And it's gonna be in the next slide.
Okay.
So remember the back and forth emailing you mentioned before? All of that is gone, and we're just gonna do a minute or max 2 over text. And if you look at her questions and the way that she's interacting with the candidates, she's taking a little bit of time to interact with them. And that's because we've really designed her to be human-like. She's very smart, and the more she learns, the better she gets. And people have actually told us, oh my God, I thought she was a real person. So it looks like Denzel Washington is applying, like you. If he comes and works for you, I'm gonna have to quit my job and come work for you. But you know, other than Denzel's controversial career change, essentially, Olivia is simply having a conversation with him to see if he's a good fit for the position. Does this look like something that would be hard for your candidates to use?
So this is a conversation happening with Olivia. I mean, it looks pretty real to me.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's easy as sending a text. And other than SMS, have you heard of Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, WeChat?
Yep.
Yeah, so you don't live under a rock. That's good. We have those too, and it's all about accessibility and really finding candidates where they are at, so you never miss your next great hire. And I think what I do want to say is the beauty of all of this is everything is seamless with their ATS integration. She's not a CRM, she's not an ATS, she's there to make it better. So you don't have to replace any of the systems you already use, and you're using Talio, right?
Yes, that's the system we've got in place.
Okay, perfect. We're a match made in heaven. The stars are aligning. So Olivia works seamlessly alongside Talio, and she's going to seamlessly sync candidate data into your ATS. So I am going to flip it back to you. Hearing all of this, you know, what do you think something like this can do for you?
Yeah, well, I'm seeing just from the demo I've got going on the screen, I'm seeing a lot of efficiency here, that we're able to get meetings booked, and I think that that's a helpful way to drive some efficiency for us. I think that my concern still stands on the emotional intelligence side. So I think I'm intrigued, would love to learn more, but I think I'd like to understand that aspect, and I'm not sure we'll have time to address that today. But how can we dig into that a little bit more? Because I'm curious to learn if this can get at that more nuanced approach to that recruitment that goes beyond just the booking of a meeting.
Yes, I can definitely, you know what I'll do? We have a couple of case studies that address that. So I will make a note for my AE Zendaya, and she can come prepared. And also if you have other questions beforehand, feel free to email me and I'll pass that to her as well. So
Okay.
do you have your calendar in front of you?
I do, yes. I've got my calendar here.
Amazing. Okay. Are you free Friday at 2 o'clock?
Look, what might be best, Harini? I'm not sure who needs to be included in the meeting. So why don't you just send over some times and I can just flip that around internally and get back to you on some times that could work for the team. Would that work?
Who else needs to be a part of the conversation?
This is what I'm not sure about.
Okay.
I think our VP on the HR side might want to be involved. I might want to include a couple of our recruiters just so they have eyes on it. But I mean, this is new for me, so I just need to give that some thought, I think.
Okay. Actually, you know what I just realized, Greg? You actually sent me a couple availabilities for this demo, and I have next week times, and I have a 1 hour slot. If you want, I can do a placeholder for that. And if we have to change it, we can do that.
Okay. Well, yeah. Let's go ahead with that, and then I
Okay.
can add those names to it. Sure. Yeah,
All
we
right,
can-
Tuesday at 2 p.m. And I just want to thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, Greg.
Okay. Harini, I appreciate it. Thanks for that. Thanks for the overview. I'll see you next week.
Okay, bye.
Okay. Take care.
Harini, great job. You're wrapped up. I have 1:24 left on the timer, so you've got lots of time. But great use of time. You're well done.
Thank you.
For everyone, we always like to give a couple of minute break in the middle so people can top up their coffees, their waters. Before we got started, I was lamenting to the judges that I have these rinky-dink little coffee cups, so I know I could use a top up. But before we let everyone go, we're going to do a quick 4-minute intermission. I will let you know who the next competitor is, so they've got a couple of minutes to prepare. So right after the break, we're going to have Bodhi up. And yes, that means it also reveals who our last competitor is. And Kumail, I know you volunteered to go first, but we did already have the order picked, so sorry. But yes, everyone, we are going to have a quick 4-minute intermission. For those on YouTube, go take a break, join us. We'll have you back in a moment. Hey, and welcome back to from the intermission. This is a lot of fun. We've got 2 competitors left. During the break, we were just riffing on all the fantastic feedback using live demos, slide demos, mutual action plans, bringing in the right buyers. Now we'll get to see if Bodhi and Kumail were really taking notes and leverage those. This is going to be a lot of fun. So next up, we do have Bodhi. Quick reminder to be sure to introduce yourself, what you're selling and who you're selling it to, so we know what buying costume Greg is wearing. This is going to be a blast. Good luck. And as soon as you finish your introduction, I'll put those 15 minutes on the timer. So we'll watch out for that gong. All yours, Bodhi.
Awesome. Thank you, Joseph. Okay, so I'm going to be presenting Twilio, which is an API platform. And my prospect, Greg, is the VP of marketing for an emerging bike scooter sharing company called Boaz Bikes. And they haven't picked an API yet. And when I chatted with him first, his main concern was location-based notifications, as well as triggered push notifications to his consumers. And that's it. I am ready to go. Good morning, Greg. Can you hear me okay?
Zoom fail.
Interface.
I'm here. We've been in lockdown for well, over a year now, and we still can't come off mute.
No worries, man. I get it. The sun just came up here, so forgive me if I'm a little slow, but you know, I like waking up early, but it's cool to watch the sunrise every morning.
Yeah, very good. Well, thanks for booking some time, and been looking forward to reconnecting.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to this conversation, actually, because nobody really believes me, but when I was, well, like 15 or 16, I'd say maybe 10 years ago, 2010, I had an idea for a ride sharing, bike sharing company. I just never was able to bring it to fruition. And then I watched these huge companies like Uber and Lyft and Ford put out these companies. And I was like, you know, that was a missed opportunity. So I'm really excited to be talking to you. I'm excited for your company. I'm excited that there's going to be an alternate emerging, you know, ride sharing to the big guys.
Yeah,
I just want to go ahead.
Yeah, maybe at the end of this, you can come over and join us at Boaz. Bodhi.
Yeah, man, I'd love that.
For it. You got the name for it.
Bodhi Boaz, got it. Well, I just love to set a quick agenda. Is 15 minutes still a hard stop for us today?
Yeah, I've got a call that I'll have to jump onto about 13 minutes here. So yeah, we just gotta dive right in.
No problem. Well, today's just going to be a quick chat. I'm going to ask you a couple questions about your company, tell you a little bit about Twilio, and then hopefully we can talk about next steps, or I'll be bugging you in about 6 months and see, you know, who you went with and how they're working out for you. Does that sound okay?
Sounds good. I appreciate that, Bodhi.
Cool. Well, please, just like I said, I'm very excited for you, but just tell me a little bit about Boaz and, you know, what's going to set you guys apart from the big boys in the towns that you're rolling out.
Yeah, I mean, we're set up, right? We're set up in Atlanta, Detroit, Plano. In our different locations, we've got different, different types of customers in each of those markets that we're trying to serve. The competition looks different in each one of those markets. I think what's consistent, the competitors themselves look different, but what's consistent is it's always about cars or scooters, and where do we fit in, right? And so I think for us, we're excited about the opportunity that we have. We've made some good progress and inroads into each of these markets, but I mean, we're hungry to catch more eyes, because I think that's where we're going to win, is getting eyeballs on our brand when people are roaming the streets, because they don't go to Boaz first, right? They need another angle, or we need another way to reach them. So that's kind of what keeps me up at night.
Okay, cool. I hear that. Yeah, what keeps you up at night, huh? That's interesting. We all have one of those things, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I would love to share my screen right now, if that's okay, for just a little visual pizzazz.
Sure.
And while I am doing that, if you could just, so what sets what do you think sets Boaz apart from some of the bigger guys that you were talking about?
Well, I think the reality is, the Detroit market maybe is a little different than Atlanta and Plano. Weather, when it gets cold, people are going to want to, hop in an Uber or Lyft ride. Few people still grab cabs. That's not really our target market, but I think people want it. I think people want to be on a bike. It's a way more efficient way to get around. Everybody's grown up riding a bike, and I think for them to have that option available is a more desirable one than jumping on a scooter, which you may not know how to ride. So I think our edge is that we appeal to what people really do want. It's just a lot of people have written off this is a reasonable way to get around, or a reasonable option, because these other transportation options just seem to have taken a lot of mind share in the market.
Sure. Sure. One thing you were mentioning the last time we spoke was you were hoping to get people to start using your service as kind of a subscription service, as an alternate to like commuting to work, as long as they're within the frame of your service. So yeah, can you see my screen? Okay.
Yeah, I can see that.
Wonderful. I'm not gonna lie, that bright neon blue Boaz logo looks really good next to that Twilio red.
I was gonna say, I feel some inception happening here. I can already see the press release.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you know anything about APIs in general, and specifically Twilio?
So, heard of Twilio. You got some big name customers from what I understand. I'm not sure. I think you've done some work with other ride sharing companies before, but not overly familiar. But I know you've done. It's a name that I recognize. But APIs are not my game. I understand the outcomes of the technology, but not necessarily the ins and outs of how it works.
Great. No worries. Well, I'll give you a brief description. So yes, you're absolutely correct. One of our bigger customers is Uber, who does jump bikes as well as Lyft. They also do a bike sharing service. And that kind of brings me into the use cases of APIs. Uber and Lyft, they do use it for some of the basic building blocks that we have. Like if you get a text from an Uber driver that it's 1 minute away, that's through Twilio's powering that. Okay. The use cases I see for you, and these are just kind of off the top of my head, is, what if you had some customers riding on a bike, and once they reach a certain location, or their battery is running low or something on their bike, you could send them a trigger-based or a location-based notification directly to their phone through their application that they've downloaded, maybe either suggesting that they park their bike and switch it out for a new one that has a better battery life if they're planning on continuing to use it longer, or even, suggestions for restaurants, maybe even a time-based trigger notification. So if they've used the bike for 2 hours, you give them like a $5 off coupon for a monthly service or something like that. I could see that helping you to gather more customers away from those big guys, just with some small, really strategically placed incentives like that. Does that sound like something that you might be interested in using?
Yeah, I was going to mention that we seem to have had some success getting people to download the app. So at least we have some presence. It's just usage of the app, right? Or being, everyone will download an app, especially if we provide some incentive around it. What you described, that's compelling. That's interesting. It's something that I think I've seen before. I've personally experienced. So that is something that I think could be highly impactful for us. We got to be thinking about how to make that happen.
Sure. Yeah, no worry. That makes sense to me. So let me ask you an unorthodox question. You ever use Legos as a kid?
Legos. I'd say who didn't, but I don't know. Yeah, for sure. I was never one of those kids that built the kits. I just broke the kits apart and built my own stuff. And it was never very good. I don't want to sound like I was a kid genius. I was more of a ham-fister when it came to Legos.
I totally feel that, because I had friends that were the same way. You give them the huge kit. But that's exactly the point I'm getting to, is why I like to equate Twilio to Legos. Is you can give two different kids the same box with the same instructions, and you're going to get entirely different creations, right? One might build a boat, one might build a rocket ship, one might build that hand to fist, just knock it down, whatever. So that is kind of what I like to describe Twilio as. We provide your company with all these building blocks in the voice realm, in the messaging realm, in the video realm, and then in the add-ons realm, which would be like those location-based services or triggered events. One thing I like to highlight, and I put that wireless symbol on here in bright Boaz blue, because the idea to me of being able to send your customers notifications in real time based on, one of my least favorite things when I'm using ride sharing companies is when my bike dies, especially if I'm with a partner, right? So if you were riding around and then your bike dies and your partner doesn't, that's a whole half an hour trying to figure out what you're going to do, walk around, whatever. So with Twilio, you actually have the ability to embed SIM cards into your bikes, or use the existing GPS tracking services that you have on there, and it'll interface just fine with Twilio's interface, and send out those push notifications. You can, send them, hey, charge your bike. Hey, you're going outside the radius. Here's some restaurants. Maybe they pull up Google, and look for restaurants. You can send other Boaz bike users suggestions for restaurants in the area, things like that. Yeah, so does that sound valuable to you?
Yeah, so you're talking about a couple of things that are certainly speaking my language. We got the idea of giving people just giving people some mind share, so earning mind share along the way, but also added value. I think both of those things together certainly are helpful. Yeah, absolutely, Bodhi.
Yeah, you brought up, you'd like to set yourself apart from the larger competitors, get some people over, and I'd see that as a really good way of doing that, right? Just providing more value to your customers. They'll feel good about using a newer, personal-based startup company. Plus, they're getting the value that makes sense to use it as well.
Yeah, no, I know that you mentioned playing with some of these larger players, which is, that's important to know that it can scale, but we are up and coming, right? So, I get excited about the opportunities, but I'm a bit mindful of the team we have here and what we're able to build. What are companies like us doing? Because I know we look and we want to be like a Lyft or like an Uber for bikes. We want to own that space, but we're just not there yet, right? So,
yeah.
What are some of your, let's say, up and coming or mid-size clients doing? Because I don't see us being able to do all of what you're describing right away. I imagine
Sure.
it's a big lift.
Yeah, I completely understand that concern. And that goes right back to my building block analogy. One of our biggest values is the database that the over 2 million developers have already created, right? So all those building blocks when you sign up for Twilio are going to be available to you. So you'll be able to implement these simple processes very quickly into your bike sharing and get them off the ground almost instantly. The other side is, and honestly, I just don't have time today to dig too deeply, but what I would love to do is get one of our devs and maybe anybody else who you think might be interested or qualified to analyze it a little bit more on a little more in-depth call, so we can dig into it. Because in addition to those building blocks that allow you to plug and play very quickly with those messaging and trigger-based notifications, a developer can really do anything that they can think of with our platform, right? The sky's the limit, and I'm just excited to see what all of our clients come out with and build next. But to address that concern specifically, yes, we have a lot of plug and play options. It's very quick to implement and very good support from our developers at Twilio.
Okay. Yeah, I think that, the marketing side of this, the reason that we're talking is, we need to increase that mind share. We need people thinking about our products when they're walking the streets, and we
Yeah.
aren't top of mind yet. So, but actually implementing this, that does change hands. That goes to our more technical operators. So that sounds like a good suggestion from your side. I mean, who typically do you get involved from the client side? So I run the marketing shop, but who should I be bringing into a meeting like this?
Yeah, you mentioned you're a small team. I'm hoping you have a couple developers on your team. I'd love to see a developer with you on the call, and then any other decision makers. Anybody who you can think of that would be signing off on this type of thing. That would be really helpful as well. I would bring my dev and my account manager into the next meeting, and we will, go from there.
Okay. Yeah. So what does that next step look like, Bodhi? Just so you have a good understanding of the process.
Yeah. Well, do you have your calendar in front of you?
Yeah, I do here. I do.
Cool. Well, it would take about an hour for the next deep dive to really show you how you can work it. You don't need to be a developer to use this application with those plug and play options I was talking about. It's called Twilio Flex, and you can just literally build a linear map of if then this, if then that, and it's a drag and drop platform. So we'd show you how to use that. I'd love to show your developer how to, develop their own building blocks that they have as well. So you said you had your calendar in front of you. How's next Tuesday, same time sound?
Okay, so what would be best, Bodhi? If you send over some times for me, I can just circulate that with the team and get back to you on a time. Does that work?
Yeah, wonderful. I will do that, and I'll send you over some use cases as well, and you can show those off.
Okay, I appreciate that, Bodhi. I'll look forward to catching up with you soon. I'll watch for your note.
Greg. I really appreciate you again. I'm super excited for your platform.
Right there at the time.
Good job.
Fantastic job. Yeah. Thank you. So we've already shared who our fourth presenter is. So I'm sure Kumail's up and running. Bodhi, how are you feeling now that you're out of the hot seat?
Good. I feel like I had this whole plan together and then it just kind of flowed. I was a little self-conscious about my slides, to be completely honest. Chris kind of alleviated that with the last one too, because I was like, that's not how I work. I'm not a developer. I'm not like a feature show off. I just like to chat with the client or whoever I'm talking with and try and get their feel for it. Definitely thought Greg threw me some curveballs, but I feel good overall.
Nice. That's good to hear. I see judges kind of getting down to a few couple of notes and comments and scores, and while they're doing that, it's a good chance to quickly remind the audience and those joining us on the stream just how challenging this is. I mean, as much as I love pressing my buttons and seeing the gong go off, this is tough. Baking the whole discovery process and a live demo into just 15 minutes is pretty intense. And, the members who are presenting here, they haven't been doing this for months and months and are experts of the company. They're showing off some pretty fresh skills. So, props to everybody. This is really impressive.
Thanks. I was going to ask, Joseph, did you scrap the gong? I was waiting for that big gong because I knew I was right at time there. So
those on the YouTube stream, they hear it and it makes them jump out of their seat. Piping right into the Zoom is always a little bit tough. So that's why I jump in to say hi. But yeah, it definitely hit on the YouTube side of things. And yeah, I can see the heads nodding for the people who got startled. So good times for all. I get to enjoy that. Digging in, I see scores kind of jumping in. I see folks nodding from the judges. Once you're done your scores and your comments, can I get a thumbs up so I know when you're ready? I see scores coming in, solid. Kumail, you're going to be up next. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling well, thank you. It's been a great morning so far, so I'm excited to bring my piece of the puzzle to the table and celebrate our collective growth that we've had over the past 12 weeks.
Fantastic. That's really, really good to see. I can see you got your team and your crew here cheering you on, not just in the chat, but here in the Zoom room too. This is a lot of fun. Great. I see scores, comments. Catching everything on Zoom is tough. Let's see. Amar, are you good with your scores? I think I saw it. Perfect. Okay, I think we're good to get going. Kumail, quick reminder, what you're selling, who you're selling it to. Greg's flexing all the personas today, so make sure you let us know who he's pretending to be today. And then once you're done the intro, we will be sure to put the 15 minutes on. Go ahead.
There we go. Can you all hear me? And can you see my screen? Awesome. Okay, so as mentioned, my name is Kumail. That's a photo with me in my dream car of the Tesla Model S. And I'll be presenting for Happify Health. And the product is a portal that has a curriculum of science-based activities and games that can help with sleep, behavioral change, nutrition progress, and it's a quite extensive platform. And the 6 core stats that they work on are towards improving our ability to savor, thank, aspire, give, empathize, and revive ourselves. Greg will be our president and vice chancellor of Sheridan College today. And the main chancellor is Hazel McCallion, so he gets to work with her. And we met at a Ministry of Colleges and Universities conference in 2019 at a panel about the power of sleep. Greg had posted a LinkedIn thing about wanting to create more wraparound omni-level service for students' access to health and well-being, and with a potential intent to expand it to faculty and staff. So I reached out to his executive assistant, Tracy, and was able to find some time on the schedule. Does that make sense, Greg?
Well, I love the opportunity to be a chancellor.
Cool.
Fantastic.
So we'll stop the share for now, and then we'll bring it back in a second.
I'm putting 15 minutes on the clock. It's all yours.
All right. Hi, good morning, Greg.
Good morning, Kumail.
How's your day so far?
It's going well. You had a big night of sleep last night. I'm feeling on top of the world.
Yeah, nothing quite like waking up recharged on the right side of the bed, right?
You got it. Yeah, you got it. Feeling good today.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Yeah, I had a nice experience this morning when I went to go and get my morning matcha. There was a cardinal perched on one of the high trees just singing away. So that was a nice greeting for the start of the day.
That's a beautiful way to start the day.
Yeah.
My dad is passionate about birds, and he's taught myself, he's taught the kids over the years all about the different species and seasonality. Cardinals are one of his and my favorites for sure.
Yeah, a short son of spring.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So just to start off, I really want to appreciate you for setting some time aside, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Just to also confirm, is this a hard stop for today?
It is. Yeah, it is. I've got to jump off here in about 13 minutes. So I'll have to jet. So whatever we can fit in would be great.
Sounds great. And so what my agenda is to essentially ask you a few questions that will illuminate whether we are in the right room here together. And if we are, we can continue that conversation. And if we're not, we can always part as friends. Just to give you a gauge of how we've done it, for example, at Wilfrid Laurier and Conestoga I've had meetings with the presidents there, usually 4 to 5. And then myself and my institutional executive would come to a board meeting. That's what we did there. So just to give you a gauge of how our process looks, does that sound all right for you?
Yeah, that's helpful to get some context. I mean, I'm seeing what we're about to talk about is something that does impact all of student and faculty life. So, I mean, it would have to go to that level. So helpful to hear that this is something that you've done before. So thanks for that.
Absolutely. Is there anything you'd like to add to the agenda that would help me make sure that this time is fruitful?
I don't think so. I think let's dive right in. Yeah.
Awesome. Last question, have you ever participated in a procurement process at Sheridan College?
Unfortunately, yes. Many
okay.
of them. Yeah. They never seem to go overly smoothly, but you're giving me some hope.
Yeah.
That maybe this will be different.
I mean, sometimes sellers try and just think about the seller, but here at Happify, we try and center you as the user and our potential partner.
Okay, well, that is very aligned to your brand, and so happy to hear that too. I'm looking forward to the conversation. So, yeah, how can
Awesome.
yeah, how how do we move forward from here, Kumail?
Yeah, actually, before we get into the heart of the matter, I'd love to share something with you. I really enjoy brain teasers and riddles, and I was wondering if I could share one with you.
That's unconventional, but I'm game for it. Fire away.
Awesome. So it goes like this. Here we are. There's nothing I will not devour. I eat birds, beasts, trees, and flowers. I gnaw iron, bite steel, grind hard stones to meal. I slay kings, ruin towns, and beat high mountains down. Who am I? Or what am I?
I've never answered a riddle, and now that I'm put on the spot, I feel like I got this one. I think I've got it. I'm very confident. Okay.
What's your guess?
I'm saying it's time. I'm time.
Time is the correct solution, and thank you for indulging my love for brain teasers. We'll move right forward.
I'm feeling like I need to go buy a lottery ticket now. That's my moment to shine.
Might be a lucky day. So if you could walk me through the gaps that are currently preventing your health and wellness service from being truly immersive and wraparound, and what kind of impact that's happening on, what kind of effect that is putting into your day-to-day job as well.
Yeah, I guess there's a few things. Any services that we offer, we like to think of ourselves as, we're an inclusive organization. We're here to provide opportunities for growth for all who come onto our campus, and that's faculty and students, and all of the staff of the of our institution. And the challenge that, or one of the challenges that we have is any services that we offer, they're really opt-in. We can create a great culture and environment, but for people to seek those out, I guess I would even say there's probably some stigma associated with that, with the services we offer. So I think they're opt-in, but they tend to not be engaged with at the levels that I would hope that they were. Mm-hmm. They take a lot of time. We've tried to make them accessible, but we still have a lot of dark corner offices where these rooms are located. So we're trying to make that more accessible and open, but just frankly, I think we have a tough time reaching everybody. One of them,
getting that engagement can be very difficult, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think how that then, so it's tough to access, and I think it's all of things that wouldn't be surprises to you. It affects how we retain students, especially now, with such a heavy remote reliance. So we're losing faculty, we're losing students at a higher rate than we ever had before. Applications across the country are down for post-secondary. And so we're struggling with that just to get a good pipeline inbound. Yeah. And just liability too, frankly. Mental health and wellness is a big deal, and we've got to show and do all of what we can because we believe in it, but just candidly, we got to be mindful of our liability and exposure as well.
Yeah, I appreciate and admire how you're kind of assuming that responsibility for the students and the people that are coming through your doors. A next question would be, I actually found a passage from your letter to the shared community quite compelling. When you described how you want to really focus on individual transformation by developing the students' capacity to thrive on change, which takes agility, self-direction, calculated risk, and imagination. I found that really interesting. I was wondering if you could wave a magic wand, what would be the ideal characteristics of like a front-end skill development portal that would really enable that adoption to be driven and also retain students and get new applications as well?
Yeah, that's a big question. Thanks for reading that letter. I didn't think anybody read it. Took me a long time to put that together. The way I think we've got to be able to find a way to meet people where they are, where they're at, where and how they engage, and that's on their mobile devices, laptops. It's not about going to a physical place. Obviously, we've had to change our service offerings there, but still, we need to go to the people we're trying to serve and just make that part of our culture. Steep our student and staff in that, rather than having people have to find it, seek it out, or opt into it.
Yeah, I like that metaphor analogy of steeping in it and having that multi-channel access. And that's something we do is there's a web platform as well as integrated app platform that is on Android or Apple. So it's totally, they communicate to each other and are totally integrated.
Okay.
So why don't we hop into seeing the dashboard now? If you could, do you know offhand by chance when your fall orientation might take place? Because at the other schools, we've actually created presentations for them to do at the orientation. So I was wondering when that happens for your school.
Yeah, oof. I think I just had to pull up my calendar there. I think that's the week of, I mean, our orientation classes start on the 13th. Orientation is the week prior to that. I mean, that's pretty, just to think about hitting that sort of target here, we got a lot of hoops to jump through for that to even be realistic to think about.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure that I'm thinking about this for this coming year. I mean, we got to move on this, but yeah, I have reservations about thinking about launching something big or new. We're already well into our planning cycles for the fall kickoff.
Okay, yeah, that's understandable. It is kind of a tight timeline, so we can have a little bit of a broader horizon and go from there. So let's pull up our dashboard. Thank you for your transparency, by the way.
No problem. I feel like we gotta try to stay aligned here.
Oh, where did my Chrome go? There we go. I'm going to bring up the dashboard now. So let's pretend that maybe next year's orientation and we're doing a presentation and I'm like one of the peer mentors and you are a first-year student at Sheridan College. Does that sound okay?
Sure, that sounds good.
Cool. Here we are. So here is our dashboard. And let's say you as a first-year student, what would be something you might encounter as a difficulty as a first-year student?
Oh man, there's so many. Let's just say, I mean, I don't know if I would pick them from your screen here, but I mean, it's the homesickness, new people, stress, don't know where to go, what to do. It's just all overwhelming.
Cool. So let's say hypothetically being able to build a strong routine in the face of all that change. Yeah. There's some great tracks here that are able to address that. Let's say, for example, motivation, or let's go to get the best sleep of your life on the topic and theme of sleep that we've already been on. Yeah. If we explore that, we see that it's actually been created by a psychologist and sleep specialist. We have some testimony along the side here. And once you enroll in it, it gives you specific activities and games that are able to be accessed, whether on your web platform or in your phone-based app as well. And it'll give you prompts and it'll help you kind of build the necessary skills and habits that may improve your sleep and enable you to face this transitional time in a more balanced, more healthy state, right? So, and if you want to, we can always dig into the research that's backing each track. So if we look here, some of the interventions that are being used are cognitive behavioral therapy, positive psychology, mindfulness, behavioral activation. So we really believe in being research-based. So that's all I'll share for that for now. We'll just hop back here. And I was really curious, like how you feel, from what you've seen so far and what you've heard so far. Do you feel that there's an alignment between Happify and the empowering enablers that you mentioned in your, that Sheridan has mentioned in its strategic vision as being a people-centric technology space, as well as having a desire to create healthy and creative communities? Do you see synergy or cohesion between that?
Yeah, I'd say I'd sense that alignment for sure here, Kumail. I think my big question is, how do we get that engagement? great. Looks like interesting content. Looks like a good platform that people could go and access that. Just from the brief bit you shared, that question is going to be, you know, how do we drive and measure that engagement? That's a top of mind item for me, for sure.
Absolutely, and that's top of mind for many of our partners. As I was mentioning, Wilfred Laurier earlier in Conestoga, Donna, the president at Wilfrid Laurier, and Joseph, the president at Conestoga, had similar concerns, and we were really able to keep track of how many students were using the platform and show the uptake over the course of a semester. And they were really thrilled about that. So I think you might be as well.
So are these people, I mean, I know a couple of these. I mean, I feel like I want to give them a call and maybe chat with them about the work you're doing there. I mean, we're all
yeah. I mean, I have a meeting with them in a couple of weeks, so I'll see if they can set some time aside for you. Okay. But we're coming close to that 15-minute mark there, Greg. So I wanted to just confirm whether we're like, it sounds like we're making sense and we're on the same page. And I can potentially book a follow-up meeting with Tracy now. Am I off the mark here?
No, I think we should move forward. As you mentioned, you've done this before. Who should I involve in a call to keep this thing moving?
So yeah, I was looking at Jane, your VP of Inclusive Communities, Maria, your Dean of Student Services, as well as Callum, the head of your peer mentor team. But I'll send that along and we can figure it out, okay?
Sure, yeah, it sounds like a good group. Yeah, please send me some times and then we can to keep the conversation going. I appreciate it, Kumail.
All right, thank you, Greg.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Kumail, great job. I had 29 seconds left on the clock there. I had myself unmuted. I was looking for that gong, and especially after that time riddle, I was really watching the clock on that one. So good job. That was a lot of fun. How are you feeling?
Feel good. I was listening to some of your deep house tracks last night when I was prepping, so I think I was getting into a little bit of a flow.
There we go. That was a fun pitch. Watching the name drops for your customer stories. That's always tough. It's Chancellor Greg clearly knew President Don and President Joseph, so that was a fun chance there. I love that. So, giving our judges a couple more minutes to finish out their scores, their notes. Right now, they're figuring out who we're going to be crowning demo champion. It's a lot of fun. For our audience, it's also a really good chance to reflect and to recognize, yeah, the 15 minutes is tough. But moreover, none of the competitors today had any prior experience selling technology. In fact, only one of the competitors had prior sales-specific experience. And as an observer, getting a chance to watch 4 products I've never seen pitched or sold, it was compelling. It was really exciting. So great job, everybody. You know, really big kudos. You really deserve that. Great job. And doing it in such a public venue. I mean, we've got 31 people in the Zoom room. That's going to be the toughest selling circle you're ever going to face. And we always have hundreds of views on the YouTube side of things. The stakes feel high. So the pressure's definitely there. Take a breath. This was definitely the toughest discovery demo you will ever have to do. So if you made it through this, you know you could tackle anything. So great job, everyone. Watching the scores, the notes coming in, as we're waiting for those to get wrapped up, Greg, as the lead buyer, any comments you want to share for our 4 competitors today?
Yeah, I have to say, just going across, it was like twisting and turning from Ace Ventura to Chancellor Greg to, I mean, I'd like maybe some more generic, if we can put that on the record, some more generic buyer personas. But for my part, but I have to say that each one of these, like each one of you felt to me like you're working at those companies. And what was so exciting to see and hear was you all picked things that are clearly important or meaningful to you personally. And that is something that is truly aspirational, I think. When you're selling something that you believe in, I mean, it makes it easier in a lot of ways. And so I give you a ton of credit for picking those products and owning your own personas, because each of you did that in your own ways. So well done, very well done.
Nicely done. And I know that we always look to get some feedback from the judges. Greg, are you up for running our judges through their paces to get some feedback for the contestants?
Yeah, let's do that. So we're going to go one by one here. And so we'll have each judge will have one of you speak to one of the competitors. So we'll go kind of one through in that order to game for it. And Drew, we're going to have you go first. So Drew, if you could offer some comments on the pitch that we had from Rohit, that would be fantastic.
From Rohit?
Yes, sir.
All righty then. I can do Rohit. First, I'd like to first of all, just congratulate everybody again for an awesome demo day. Like Joseph said, it's not easy doing 15 minutes, doing it live, doing it with kind of minimal prep and new products that you're not even working for. So big up to everybody. Always a big round of applause. Super impressed at the talent. Truly, it's just like it's a really awesome talent pool for SaaS companies. If they are watching, everybody's super impressive. Two general points of feedback. I would say one for screen sharing. So obviously you're on the Zoom call, you have a screen share aspect of your discovery call or demo call. But what I would emphasize is that only screen share when it's adding value to the conversation. So when it's not adding value, stop the screen share. So then you can have a one-on-one conversation with your prospect. Just thinking if you're at like a coffee shop and you're sitting beside them and you had your laptop open and you're going through a presentation, and then they asked a question or they brought something up that you want to ask them about, you might close the laptop screen and like look at them in the eyes and ask a follow-up question or try and clarify something that they say. So you can have the same effect by minimizing that screen share. So you make that connection and then bring up the screen share once it's relevant and appropriate and adding value to the actual conversation. The second piece is the transition to demo. So a lot of times what I see, there's like discovery questions, and then it's time to open your screen share and start talking about the features and benefits and what the product does. But there's no kind of resetting of the agenda to make that, or what I want to see is more of a resetting of the agenda to connect what you had learned from that discovery to what you're going to show them, versus asking questions and then just showing them something. It's okay, well, thanks. Here's your top 2 priorities, top 2 pain points that you've identified. And I'm going to show you these 2 things in our product that are going to address those for you today. So making that transition a little bit more smooth and connected to their actual pain points. Now, specifically for Rohit. So first of all, I always keep track of notes with a paper and a pen. So I'm not sure what you were making notes of, but I think you did a good job of making some notes and referring them to the conversation later on. I don't know if you put down any numbers, but I feel like when I take my notes, I typically have notes, but also put together some numbers. So when I'm able to quantify the pain. So there was like that 40% increase, the increase in diversity, those sorts of kind of goals that you have there, to kind of add some details and quantify that. I also thought there's some opportunities to ask deeper questions. So when someone says like, we want to increase diversity in our recruiting, okay, well, that's a huge like goal. That's a big statement. So you might want to say, what does that look like? Why do you want to increase it? Like, it might be on their strategy plan for the next year. So just dig a little bit deeper when you hear someone give an answer, because typically it's just the tip of the iceberg, and you want to dig a little bit deeper to find out what they really mean by that. I love the question when you made it a little bit personal. You asked Greg, like, he said something about stressed, and you're like, what do you mean stressed? It makes you stressed, and what does that look like? So it was a great way of like kind of connecting that pain point and making it personal with him. And then I would say lastly, yeah, we talked a little bit about this during the break, but when you're talking about next steps, Greg's like, I'm not sure who to bring in on the next call. Okay, well, when you hear that from a prospect, then he's asking for your help. He's asking for guidance. He's asking for you to kind of lead him to the next step. So, you know what, Greg? Well, typically in these conversations, we have yourself. We maybe have somebody from this team and this team on the call. Do you have those 2 people? Great. I'll send you the send them the invites. So really always be listening for those questions that they're asking you for the next steps, because it really is an invitation for you to take control of the call. So awesome job, and great Ace Ventura references. Well done, Rohit.
Yes, and so did you, Drew. Alrighty then. That was a good way to start the feedback. That's great. Okay, thank you, Drew. We're gonna have Chris. Chris, do you have some comments on our second presenter, Harini, that you could provide? Just feedback, comments, and again, start with some overarching and then dig in for Harini some specific items.
Yeah. I think you did a really good job of, like, you knew your product and you knew kind of like the main challenges, right? So I think when you pulled up the slides and everything like that, you use different colors to highlight like the main words, because oftentimes when people put text heavy slides, I ignore them personally because I don't want to read. I'm lazy. But if you highlight the one or two key things I actually need to focus on, then that will get my attention. If not, like, I'm gonna be checking my phone and all my Slack messages and emails. I'm just gonna be very blunt, right? So I think you did a really good job of highlighting, like, hey, here's the key takeaways I want from this slide, and you did a really good job of storytelling. I think the one piece that I noticed where I think you could have kind of lost somebody is you didn't make them like the hero of the story. It was much about the prospects, as much about all these success stories, which is great. It's like a yes, but. Yes, you want to show a little bit of that, but like, I want to feel like I'm the hero, right? Like, I want to feel like you're going to make me Superman, get me promoted, take me to the next level. And so sometimes you want to just kind of bring that person in a little bit more. So I think that's like the one piece where I noticed like myself disengaging like a little bit. I mean, that's like me like really nitpicking. Like, if that's all I'm nitpicking, then you did a damn good job, right? So like, don't dismiss, like, you know your stuff, you had confidence, you had good rapport, you're working them through the whole process. I think a little bit too, like, want to be mindful of not getting stuck on presentations and slides. Like, I personally hate slides. I'd rather just see someone's face. So I think like once you get through the slides, like, get rid of them and like, let's just look at each other like via the camera again, right? Because if not, then like I'm staring at the same slide for like whatever 15 minutes, and I just kind of get bored, or I keep seeing the same animation going over and over again, and I'm watching that because it's moving, so that gets my attention, and I'm not listening to you at that point because I'm watching this thing kind of run on a wheel. So I think just like when you're thinking through like gifs and animation, like, play it once and then move off of that slide so I can get back and focus on you, and I'm not watching that kind of keep running again. But as far as closing, next steps, everything like that, like, it was really solid. Again, I think it's the transitions are the one thing that I kind of noticed is just overarching, like how people were transitioning to the demo felt very awkward. It's like, I'm gonna go do the demo now, and it's like, for me, like, I just like, I don't even say Jack, I'm just talking to you, I flip on my screen, I share, like, it's just an ongoing conversation. Like, don't compartmentalize and break it up so much. Like, this is us like confirming agenda, this is us doing discovery, this is us doing demo, this is us setting next steps. Like, it's, think about it like you're at the bar, you're at a coffee shop talking to someone. Like, do you sound kind of like that broken up? Like, no, you're just like, hey, just want to confirm, like, is 15 minutes still okay? Is there any hard stops I need to be aware of? No? All right. I had the agenda in the invite. Was there anything else you'd like to add to that? Cool. And then kick off. And then it's like, okay, let me show you, like, based on what you shared, and reconfirm. I think that's the one piece Drew mentioned too. Like, I'd love to see people reconfirm those challenges and then to say, hey, it's like the top 3 things I heard from you were A, B, and C. Does that sound right? Or did I miss something? Right? Because you want me to keep buying in and selling myself. So I think you want to just have me like sell myself more and have me buy into that pain more. And then like once you show them that, then it's like, cool. So like, based on what I show you today, like, does it just seem interesting, or do you really think there's some real business value here? And then let them answer, and they say yes. And like, where do you see this like adding the most value? Because again, you want me to sell myself again before I set up a demo, because there's risk in me bringing in other colleagues if I haven't bought in. So I think just kind of adding in, those are subtle nuances. Like, this is hard selling stuff. I've been doing it for quite a few years, and like, it takes time to learn that, but those subtle pieces really just get to the point where they're like, hell yes, and they're selling themselves, and you just project manage them at that point. But yeah, I think you did amazing. So I'll shut up now because I'm talking too much.
Thank you. That's great feedback. I saw that in the chat and I was like, oh, that's actually really smart. So really helpful. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Cool. Yeah, Chris, your comment, I was captivated by the Denzel conversation for sure as I went through, but that was also unique. So Harini, very, very, very cool approach on the demo within the presentation. Cool. So next, Adam, Mr. Stevens, could you talk and give us a little bit of feedback on Bodhi, our cyclist from out west?
Yeah. Absolutely. Bodhi, I just wanted to say great job right off the bat here. Like the other judges and Joseph and Greg have been saying, this is probably your hardest pitch. It gets easier from here on in, and this is a muscle that we all flex. And developing those soft skills definitely becomes easier as we get into these things, and this will arm you for your career moving forward. So when we're taking a look at the presentation in its entirety, one of the things that I really liked here was that you drew an immediate comparison between your own personal goals and the objective of the candidate's company. That's a great way to go about building out rapport immediately. And say, hey, I've been really excited about this call. This is something that's really personally relevant to me, and I'm really looking forward to helping you forward with your company's objectives. That immediately can set up, establish that you're passionate about their aims and are passionate about ensuring their success. The only thing that I would say around that, though, is just make sure that you make it very clear that you flip that personal goal into the relevance of what their company's needs are and what their desires or problems are. Again, just making sure that they're put up front and forward as the hero. And if you're referring to one's own experience, just make sure that you're referring it to that individual. I loved the reference back to previous conversations with the candidate. That's another way to go about building rapport really fast, and referencing back to that previous conversation and saying, oh, hey, we talked about this in the last time. I'm glad that we have the opportunity to be able to address that here in this meeting. And the only other point that I give around your opening or discovery is maybe just dig a little bit more into validating their pain points for the prospects. However, that is such a pillar and a key. Oh, there we go. That is such a pillar and a key towards driving the rest of the conversation, because you can constantly go back to that. Here's your pain point. Here's how we address this. Is that true? Yes. Okay. Excellent. But overall, really solid. So when we were looking at on your demo, demonstrating instances in which the geo or time-based notifications could aid the customer experience, I thought that was really powerful. It speaks to your product's features right off the bat. It also speaks to their pain points, which I think is excellent, especially given how topical that is to your product. Using the Lego analogy, fantastic. I'm a huge fan of analogies or metaphors. In demos, especially when we're talking about technical sales, oftentimes the prospect, isn't necessarily a dev or, a technical per se. So being able to use some of those metaphors to be able to explain one's product in a very quick and succinct fashion can move you miles. So I'd say lean into those kinds of things. I wouldn't say that at the very end of it, you said, I don't have the time to, but to get into the technicals or the technical elements now. I would potentially look at a rephrase on that. Instead of saying that I don't have the time, because of course you have the time, they're the hero and you always have the time for the hero. Instead, I would say, let's get a technical expert in our next call to help address some of those technical questions. That's a perfect way to tee you up for that next call. And that's why you got TSRs, right? Those guys can really help you through that process. And as a prospect myself, oftentimes I have very technical questions, and it's perfectly okay to say, yep, I don't have that technical knowledge, but let me get you the expert who does. That's absolutely fine. And then the only other thing that I'd say here was in your closing, Greg mentioned next steps. If you don't feel like a dev or a tech, that's okay. Again, I touched base on the TSRs. When they say send me some times, I'd recommend following up as a teaser, because that could potentially sometimes be a way that somebody would say, yeah, send me some times, in that this isn't necessarily as important as I thought it was. And oftentimes what I'll do is I will make reference and say, you know what, that sounds great. I'll send you a few times. And then I'm also going to follow up with the following gimme. Whether that's a white paper or a technical document or something that refers back to the conversation and the points that you had in that conversation, and it invites them to dig more into the details while you're setting up that time. And it also gives you something to follow up on, just in case this is an area where you have to do a little bit of objection handling. But overall, man, great job. This was a good pitch.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your feedback and time.
You got it, Bodhi.
I'm not sure if you said you got it, buddy, or you got it, Bodhi, but
I said Bodhi.
I'll respond to either.
Yeah, I appreciate that. All right, thanks so much, Adam. And then for our last but not least on feedback for Kumail, Amr, if you don't mind, step on in.
Yeah. Well, first of all, big congrats to all the contestants. A 15-minute disco demo is rough. Like we aim for a 30-minute disco demo here at Hypercomply, and that's hard enough in and of itself. So 15 minutes is really, 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 really tough. So congrats to everybody to getting through it. Kumail, man, amazing research. Like, I love the thoughtfulness put into the backstory, and yeah, it's just awesome. Specific notes on the opening. I got a little bit stressed out about the timing. It's funny, your brain teaser was about time, but I felt like it went on probably just, I don't know if it went on for too long, but I did start getting a little bit concerned for time, knowing our 15-minute limit. And I think when Greg mentioned the pain points around both engagement and liability, I think that was a missed opportunity to really dig into those, to figure out, like, what do those actually look like? Is there a specific engagement metric that Greg is aiming for? Do they have 10% utilization of those services now, and he's hoping to get to 40% or 50%? And then likewise for the liability aspect, as soon as I hear liability, I'm thinking insurance. Like, what does it cost the college in insurance claims for folks who are potentially not taking advantage of these services? So I think there's an opportunity to dig into like a very specific set of numbers, and then tie that into perhaps some case studies around how you were able to improve engagement at Laurier by 50% or what have you. To kind of echo the sentiment from Drew and Chris, the demo transition, I think, again, was an opportunity to like take those pain points around engagement and liability and then build on those. You jumped in and you mentioned, hey, let's look at the dashboard. Greg has no context around what the dashboard is or what it does, right? So if instead you were to say, hey, like, let's take a look at how we can improve engagement and reduce liability, this is how we do that with the students. That would have probably been a better or smoother transition, if that makes sense. I think that was my biggest piece of feedback from the demo aspect. And then on closing, love that you researched who else is typically involved specifically at Greg's organization. So I thought that was really, really well done. But overall kudos. Some fine tuning required on the demo and the transition aspect of it. But yeah, well done.
Thank you so much, Amr.
And jumping in there, Greg, I know that you're champing at the bit to crown a champion. Got a couple of comments. We'll announce a champion, a bit of housekeeping, get everybody out well before the top of the hour. For all of our contestants, the grads, you all know how challenging this was. A lot of kudos, a lot of thumbs up. Reminder, you will get all of the notes in the comments from the evaluation, so you'll get a chance to debrief and dig in, and this recording will be made available to you. But I also want to take a moment to really hammer home how valuable and how meaningful the feedback is from these judges. Drew builds playbooks all the time. He sees what companies do well, badly. His feedback, take it to heart. Adam's been a buyer so many times. And so sitting in that buyer's seat, it's like a real trial by fire. Chris knows his stuff so well. You could see his comments on LinkedIn, his work in online communities, and you could see from everyone's reaction in the selling community how well he knows this stuff. And Amr, as a leader, as a CEO, he's hiring sales reps left, right, and center, and they're growing like stink in such a competitive space. You have got all the perspectives you need in this crucible of a challenge. So job well done, and really dig into that feedback. We're going to announce our winners, but before I hand it off to Greg, I'd ask everyone to unmute themselves on Zoom so that when Greg does announce the winner and we all clap and applaud, everyone can hear that. Greg, are you ready to crown a champion?
I sure am. I think I forget who said it. I think Adam might have said it, but having, like, if I had to do pitches and have everyone on my team, all of my classmates, my CEO and judges watching me while I did a pitch, oh my gosh, never sign me up for that. So everyone, huge congrats to the first class of 2021. And Callum Bramley, who bravely led them here, and Alex from our team, to crown our champion today, because it all culminates with this. I think we do a drum roll, please, because our champion for 2021 demo day is Harini.
Great job, Harini. How are you feeling?
I feel good. I feel happy. But yeah, shout out to the class. This has been an amazing experience, and shout out to Callum. I think, I can speak for everyone. He's been such a great instructor.
Oh, that's so awesome. I know everyone did such an amazing job. Class is cheering. I see the chats going off like wildfire. We want to make sure that we get you out before the top of the hour, and I know that as a class, you'll have the chance to unbox this all tomorrow in your debriefs. For the folks on YouTube, we're going to do some quick housekeeping and let you'll go. And then the folks on Zoom will wrap up shortly afterwards. But let's take care of a bit of that housekeeping. So first and foremost, if you did enjoy this demo day, if you want to attend ones for future classes, or when we bring the judges back to do a demo day judges edition, you can always sign up at uvaro.com/demo day. Our next one is on May 6th. That's 12 till 2 p.m. Eastern. And we also have regular workshops that are open to the public. You can also access those at uvaro.com/events. The next couple that we have coming up, April 15th, that's coming soon, is a panel conversation on the future of remote sales work. That promises to be really exciting. On April 20th, we have our next cold call blitz. So if you want to work those muscles, try out a new script, see what techniques folks have, you can come and join us. And again, that's April 20th, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern. And then we have on April 28th, the week afterwards, a creative resume workshop. So if you or any of your colleagues are on that job search, that workshop will help you put some amazing flourishes and elements on your resume. So again, thank you for joining us to make this event so exciting, for launching some amazing careers. Again, huge congrats to all of our contestants. Huge thank you to our judges with whom we could not do this. So thank you. And for everyone on YouTube, thanks for joining in, and we will let you go.